It's never too early to start thinking about the future. You're on the Hoops Cap.
Let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get it. Yeah. UConn, baby. Home of the champions. Let's go.
Welcome into the Hoops Cap Pod. I'm your host, Mark Zanetto. The Hoops Cap is powered by Big East Energy Network and by BigEnergyMediaPods.com. If you haven't already know what BigEnergyMediaPods.com is, check it out. If you have a podcast, come join us. If you haven't started a podcast and you want to talk to us, go to that website, check out the contact page, fill it out, pitch us, be happy to discuss whether or not that's something we're interested in. Likely chance, I want you to join us on BigEnergyMediaPods.com. Even if it's non-basketball related, come talk to us. All right, so the UConn Huskies are hot on the trail for the future of their backcourt, the future of their front court. And there's a few names, and the three that we're going to talk about today are Dylan Mingo, Abdu Tore, and Arafan Diane. Oh, I got it right the first time. Arafan Diane. That's a name that I want to say Arafan Diane, right? When you see it, but it's Arafan Diane. And I'm going to keep saying that over and over again so my brain fires on all cylinders this morning. And let's kick things off with a name that should already be on your radar if you're following high major recruiting, and that's Dylan Mingo, right? The Long Island native has been torching the EYBL circuit, and it's not just his scoring that's turning heads. It's his size, and if you look at him, he's like a lankier version of Tristan Newton, and you could lump him in with Steph Castle, the whole deal. That size, the frame, it's begging Dan Hurley to offer him whatever he wants to come to UConn because he's big. Sorry, he's big. I got excited. Big, physical, long. He's definitely a little raw, but I mean, so what? That's what coming to UConn is about. We talked about this a long time ago. You don't come to UConn as a finished product. You come to UConn to find out kind of if you're made for this. And I say this with all due respect to other programs because Florida just won a national championship. So obviously there's a lot of different ways that you can do things. But when you come to UConn, especially as a floor general, especially as someone who they're thinking they want to hand over the keys to this offense, to the ability to kind of control what this Dan Hurley team does. And if they're that high on you, then that's the reason why guys like Steph Castle, Cam Newton, I always say this, Cam Spencer, Tristan Newton, score first guards who could pass when needed, but always hunted buckets first. These are the types of players that Dan Hurley wants. Mingo's the same way. He's proficient as a scorer, if not prolific. He's not just, a chucker. He's pretty surgical. When you watch the tape, he'll walk defenders into the pick and roll, use that little hostage dribble to freeze guys, then dictate tempo. His pacing reminds me of Steph in the respect of he's not as explosive yet, but he's still in high school. And he's a wizard with ball screens and, kind of playing chess while everyone else is still figuring out the pieces and should they hedge, should they fan out to protect the wing. He's just special because he kind of keeps you on ice skates. You're kind of constantly like, where are we going, right? I said, I mean, I'm using comps for UConn. He's a lankier Steph Castle. I mean, he's got a little bit of that. I think everybody kind of is copying the SGA, the Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. Great body control, creates angles, and he's learning to simplify his game. And under a guy like Dan Hurley, I think we'd see just get that yawn out, right? I'm also recording this at 6 o'clock in the morning. That's part of the reason why I'm yawning. So pardon that. Also worth noting, before we get to Abdu Tore, his brother Caden Mingo is going to Penn State. He's there this year. Could there be a situation where UConn gets Caden a transfer to lure Dylan here because he's that big of a priority for them? Caden's going to be a good player for Penn State. He's not. He's definitely not Dylan, or else he wouldn't go to Penn State. No disrespect to the Nittany Lions. Um, but, you know, Caden is a 6'3.5" freshman who's kind of underrated, but is a good shooter. He's more of a, let's just say, the word that's been used in scouting reports is a competitive overachiever. So if that doesn't sound like guys that UConn likes to fill in their roster with, like an Alec Millander of IU Indy, but maybe you get a little boost because your brother is Dylan Mingo and he's a top 10 recruit in the country. I think he's rising. He's like 13th in the rankings right now. But by the time this is all said and done, he's probably going to be a top 10 recruit and a very highly sought after point guard. I think either way, Dylan is a name every Husky fan should keep watching. He's really that good. Go check out some of his tape. My favorite thing is when content creators or college basketball analysts say, like, I've watched the film. There's no such thing as film anymore, guys. That's just a fancy word that you like to say so that you can make yourself feel comfortable about what you do, or just something that's never left your brain. Because I still say, hey, let's tape that show tonight when there's no tape. It's just, DVR or whatever. But yes, go to the YouTube highlights. If you're one of these sickos that gets, tape or video sent to you because you have like a Huddle account or something crazy like that, fantastic. Watch his film. It's very good. I do think that if UConn grabs him, it is an absolute kind of just a continuation, because when you think about it, uh, Silas and Malachi, although Malachi will have no eligibility, but although Silas can stay for an extra year if he has eligibility, he's likely going to go pro next year, barring anything unforeseen. So there's going to be openings at point guard. This is who they want. This is or at least one of them, and there's just something about this kid that screams Dan Hurley. And it's the competitive nature. It's kind of like he's got this stone cold look of just, I don't even know. It's almost, I don't want to say joyless, but it's robotic, where it's like, I have a job to do to bust your ass and I'm going to do it. And that's a good trait to have in a point guard. All right, we're going to take a quick break and we're going to come back and talk about Abdu Tore, the Connecticut native out of Notre Dame and West Haven. Got an offer from the Huskies, and it's someone that a lot of fans are excited about. I'm excited. I think he's a good player. I'm not as bullish on, you have to keep Connecticut kids because sometimes they just don't fit your profile. Donovan Clingan, on the other hand, 7'2", can really get up and down, dominate the floor defensively. So, I think that was a good stay-at-home kid. So when we come back, we're going to talk about Mr. Toure and take a break on Hoop Scout. All right, welcome back into the Hoop Scout pod, powered by Big East Energy Network on the Big Energy Media Collective. Yes, Abdu Tore, the West Haven native, or at least Notre Dame of West Haven. Let's just say if Dylan Mingo is a technician with the ball, Tore is an on-the-wing hammer. He is a straight-up wrecking ball when he attacks the rim. He's got that violent vertical pop you just really can't teach. One dunk and the whole gym shifts. So the kind of momentum swing that changes a game, both athletically and even defensively. He's not just a dunk contest guy, though. He's got decent ball skills. He's got a good feel for the game. And I think it's only going to get better. I'm not as high on him as everybody else, and maybe I'm wrong. And maybe he comes to UConn and becomes, the next great Husky. And if that's the case, I mean, I think one of the things that I love about doing what I do now is, if you're wrong and it's a good thing for UConn, why is that a problem? Remember, everything that I do, unless I'm bringing on a guest that is literally a SME, subject matter expert, that being a Jim Calhoun or even a beat reporter like a Joe Arruda from The Current, or Dom Amore, and they're giving their opinion, but they're giving their opinion because they're really close to it. Now, I don't think, and my wife would agree, you can get much closer than how I get to basketball. That sounds really weird, but the reality is, I eat, sleep, and drink this stuff, and I just don't. And I think it shows with how they didn't offer him right away, even though he's like, getting a lot of buzz in the state of Connecticut. Obviously, they're going to go because they're the show in Connecticut. UConn is professional sports. Um, but this kid's raw, and I think there's a layer of control that needs to have be developed in his game. Physically, he's just under 6'5". He's got a 6'8" wingspan. He plays on the wing. So just think about what we just talked about with Dylan Mingo. Dylan Mingo is a 6'5", 6'6" point guard who has that ability to handle the rock. Now Toure is a 6'5", 6'6" wing. And I think I think if he was to show the UConn brain trust that he's a legit 3-and-D guy, that he can step out and shoot the three and consistently. Because listen, I know you can show me highlights of him making threes, and I'm with that. But can he be a 3-and-D guy? Can he be a guy that is not the primary scorer, that can absolutely get you a bucket, but is like a almost even like a pick and pop guy, but also can lock down defenders on the other end because he's the physical guy, 6'5", 6'6", 6'8" wingspan at the three spot. Can he rise up from that and become what they probably think he should be already, but maybe he gets there, and maybe that's one of the reasons why he doesn't go to UConn. And I've talked about this kind of privately. I haven't done a lot of recruiting shows this summer, but I do think that that's a big issue as to why they're not all in on him. He's not all the way polished, but all it takes is, a couple of, something to click. At that age, in any sport, it's incremental, and then just like a growth spurt, all of a sudden it just goes like this. And as a coach or as an athlete, you feel it and you see it. And again, I'll be the first to say I have not seen him play in person. I'm going off of third person account, and I'm going off of things I read and report. I think he's got some good upside. Do I think it's going to be at UConn? I think it's 50-50. I think because he has that upside, it wouldn't surprise me if an SEC or a Big Ten school or even an ACC school throws a bag at him that UConn isn't going to match, and he just takes it because why not? Right? I think that's the elephant in the room. So sometimes a kid wants to go to UConn, or a kid is a perfect UConn recruit, but the reality is the finances don't match up, the priorities don't match up, and that's why you lose a Connecticut kid to like Tyler Betsy went to Cincinnati, right? And now is, I think, I forget where he went, because I thought maybe there was a chance that he could come back to UConn, as one of these guys to fill out the roster. Obviously, that wasn't the case. And then Tyler, ends up going to Syracuse, which isn't that far from home. It's farther than Stores, but yeah, that's like another. You have to think about that. And let me digress for a second. If you look back at the last 5 years of Connecticut basketball Player of the Year, yeah, the Connecticut Gatorade Player of the Year in the Dan Hurley era, right? Dan Hurley's been at UConn since 2018. And if you look at, even if you go back to the Ollie days and even the Calhoun days, you don't always get the Connecticut Basketball Player of the Year because they don't always fit where you want to go, right? Or they don't fit the profile. Let's just look at the last from 2021. You're gonna remember this name, Donovan Clingan, who won it 2 years in a row in 21 and 22. He went to UConn, won a national championship. Now, then it comes to 23 and 24. That's Tyler Betsy. He went to Cincinnati, and now he's at Syracuse. So there's a big difference there between a guy that is 7'2" and can change the face of your program and another 6'8" wing that is kind of in a logjam with the rest of the guys in your squad, right? And because Tyler got an offer from UConn, but I don't think it was ever serious that he was going to come there. And then the last now with Abdu Tore, who's at Notre Dame, just high school graduate year, so he's the Gatorade High School Player of the Year. Congrats to him. And honestly, if he comes to UConn, I'll be the biggest Torre fan ever. But I don't think he's coming. That's just from my lips to the screen. If I'm wrong, I'll come out here and say it because it'd be awesome if he came. All right, we're gonna take a quick break and talk about because the segue I just had was based off of who the next player is a major priority for UConn, and it absolutely could change the face of their recruiting class because this kid, Arafan Diane, is a monster. It's the only way to describe him. If you go and look him up, you know he's still growing from what I've heard, and he's 7'1", but he was just 6'10", like feels like 6 months ago. So like all of the uh different outlets that put all these highlights out and they have these tournaments and look, he's in Iowa. He's originally from I think it's Papua New Guinea or forget exactly where. Um, but the kid's a monster and he's a problem. And we're going to talk about that coming up after the break. All right. Too early to tell on uh Irafan, but Irafan today, just remember that name. It's hard to forget once you get the name of that and you kind of say it over and over again. First off, really cool name. Um, wouldn't I mean if you're a college basketball teammate, don't you just start calling him Diane because because of his last name, just to be kind of like quote unquote freshman hazing. But let's move on to his play. Um, I'll point you to Draft Stack's deep dive on him. And if you're not familiar with Draft Stack, go check out their Substack. Does a really good job. Uh, and I talked to one scout about him, and on with what I've read, the highlights I watched, and the conversation I had, here's what has been said. He's got elite level tools and versatility. He's got big guard energy, which I may turn into a hat, with crafty footwork and a developing jumper, and defensively, advanced instincts, especially on when people are coming at him. Uh, and just the decisions guys make when they get into the paint on these contests, it's usually getting thrown back the other way. He's not. I mean, he's not that he's not. It's not that he's not well known. It's that he is. It's he's well known in recruiting circles. But if think about it this way, if I said to you a year ago, most people are going to know who AJ Devonsa is because he's got all the hype or Cooper Flag. Um, but this is the type of guy who doesn't have that number one recruit energy, if you will. But he definitely has the energy of a Donovan Clingan type signing because just look at the kid. He's an absolute freak of nature, um, skyrocketing up the rankings and the more eyes that get on him, the more coaches are going to descend upon Iowa to watch and decide if this kid is the guy who's going to lead their team to a national championship. And in college, you can still win titles with big men. It may not be the case in the NBA anymore. Maybe we're in that OKC, everyone's 6'8" and can pass, positionless world. With the Oklahoma City Thunder, who just won a title, a world title with Coach Mark Dagnett, UConn. But yeah, in college, you can still throw it down low and kick it back out for threes. And I just think that the whole Zach Edey, Donovan Clingan, hell, even when you think about Florida, skilled bigs, that's the dream. Donovan Clingan was a skilled big. Even Samson Johnson's a skilled big. You got a Terrace Reed that's a skilled big. I think that's another part of it too, is you got to start thinking about who's behind them. So whether or not they decide to come, is Terrace Reed, I think he's got one more year. If he doesn't, that's a easy transition, because I think Eric stays 2 years. And so you'd have Dene and Ryba. Good Lord. You think about the high-low action there between 2 7-footers. One guy's 7'2", 300 pounds, 280 pounds. And the other kid, 7 foot, 230, that can step out and shoot it and break you down off the dribble. Look, Arafan needs to work on a little jumper. Needs to work on some post moves, his drop step. But the bottom line is, if a kid like this, you plop him down into a squad, and he anchors your defense, and if he gets buckets, even better. It's all gravy. Sorry about the phone call. I'm going to call that a show today. Really appreciate anyone that's liking the show. Subscribe. Make sure you check out all of the podcasts on Big East Energy Network, on our YouTube channel, and then on Big Energy Media Pods. Go find, we're adding shows. Right now it's just the Big East Energy Network plus one show, about to be 2, about to be 3, that are added to kind of the current podcast roster that's not on the network, but is under our collective of bigenergymediapods.com. If you want to join us, please check that out, and we'll get you squared away, get you right. This has been another episode of the Hoops Cap Pod with your host, Mark Zanetto. Go Huskies, baby.
Let's get it, let's get it. Let's get it, let's get it. Yeah. UConn, baby. Home of the champions.